Hello, my name is Dinas Bihus. This is Our Money, a program on anti-corruption investigations. The last 2 weeks' hottest news was the SBU and the Prosecutor General's attacks on the National Anti-Corruption Bureau. The news was so hot, even people over the ocean felt the heat. And we've almost burned here. Long story short, NABU's undercover agent came to the deputy head of State Migration Service to ask her for an illegal Ukrainian citizenship for his Iranian business partner. The deputy head agreed, and then they had a long discussion about details and prices. And then suddenly, after 3 months, she had an insight and went to the security service to tell that she was offered a bribe. Another version is that the SBU warned her about the agent. So to the next meeting, she came with the SBU's secret camera on her and started adamantly refusing the bribe. Adamantly. Well, it would be strange to take a bribe with one SBU secret camera on you and another one in front of you. Then the Prosecutor General used this footage as evidence that NABU's agent was almost forcing the poor deputy head to take a bribe, seeing her strong resistance. In turn, NABU published a video of a previous meeting when she didn't refuse in any way. And all of this fuss made everybody forget both about the deputy head and the bribe. Now, Burday's reports about the brilliant career growth from a regular executive to the person who drove a wedge between 3 law enforcement agencies. The meeting of Dina, the deputy head of State Migration Service, with an agent of the National Anti-Corruption Bureau. The agent has a hidden camera. I need your advice. There's an Iranian citizen who needs a Ukrainian passport. He's a traitor. He has never even been here. We can do it. There's one scheme, the only one. Is it possible at all? It's expensive. Everything will be perfect and smooth. Well, 30 is a minimum. Trust me, we'll do it. During the months-long special operation, the agent asks the official if she can make an illegal Ukrainian passport for an Iranian citizen. Pimahova admits that it's possible to become a citizen of Ukraine for only $30,000 with no legal causes. What's the algorithm and how long will it take? I'll give you the list of documents. You'll have to prepare them. We'll make everything and then tell him when to come, because there will be an inspection when he shows up. And how long will it take? 4 months. The Migration Service deputy head's own words, 4 months, 3 visits to Ukraine, and $30,000 are all you need to get an illegal Ukrainian citizenship. After the Migration Service's leadership confessed about the corruption scheme and 6 months of NABU agents' work, all those involved should have been arrested. But, as it often happens in Ukraine, the wrong people got arrested. NABU's agent was arrested while trying to bribe a Migration Services official. During another meeting on the illegal passport, the SBU interrupted the operation and arrested NABU's agent. The Prosecutor General's office coordinated the arrest. Why did we do this? I'm deeply convinced that law enforcement officials have no right to propose making an illegal decision to a public servant and expect her to name the price for it. It's a pure provocation. It's a pure provocation. The Prosecutor General calls NABU's actions a provocation, although he admits As far as I know, the official did not name the price, but he has received an illegal profit. But the public servant wasn't arrested. She's a witness. It's just that the prosecutor general thinks that one should not ask public servants about the corruption schemes because they can agree to put them to use. Oh, those weak public servants. And the next day after the arrest, Dina will talk to the journalists. As a public servant, as the Migration Service deputy head, I was offered a bribe. At the short briefing, she said that a few months ago she befriended a man who introduced himself as an international company's employee and insistently proposed a bribe. He continued insisting, but he mentioned that there could be some financial profit. After that, I told him that this is illegal. It's expensive. Everything will be perfect and smooth. Well, 30 is a minimum. Trust me, we'll do it. Then he told me that he would ask other people then. Be it as it may, Dina didn't go to the police right after the bribe proposal. She filed a report only in 3 months after she befriended the agent. Then the SBU got involved. They knew a lot about the investigation's details because they conduct NABU surveillance. Unfortunately, all the data about every secret operation is available to our colleagues from the security service. This information was used to recruit the subject and ruin the operation with the help of a statement about some mythical bribe provocation. At the short briefing, Dina will repeat this thrice. It was completely my initiative to go to the police after this meeting and to file a report. It was completely my decision to file a report to the SBU. It was my own decision. 3 times, but she'll never mention that she did it 3 months after the operation started. The briefing was short. She was the only one doing the talking, but when the journalists started to question her, Migration Services press secretary intruded. Thank you, colleagues, that's all, thank you. The Migration Services official didn't answer all the questions, and a few days later, she went on vacation. I can't comment on this further. There's still an investigation going on. That's how it is now. Later we'll understand what I can talk about. The only short briefing with the press service in charge, and after that, Pimahova didn't show up in front of TV cameras again, although many questions remain. Because at the last meetings with SBU's cameras on her, she demonstratively refused to take a bribe. Before that meeting, she was much more understanding, and she neither hid the plan to help with the passport, nor the price of this kind of help. Is it possible at all? It's expensive. Everything will be perfect and smooth. Well, 30 is a minimum. Trust me, we'll do it. Dina on public positions since 1999, began as Regional State Executive Officer in Zaporizhia region. In 2011, she came to the Migration Service and after 6 years became its deputy head. In 2007, Pimahova moved to Kyiv. The next year, she took a loan for a single-room flat in this house. She has a small salary, her husband is unemployed, so she plans to pay off the loan only in 2029. But everything turned out better. This is the house where she lives now as the deputy head of the Migration Service. The house is new, with an underground parking lot, security, and private territory. It's near the city center. This apartment complex is pretty prestigious, and pretty good, I would say. It is in the Green Park zone. The lowest price we saw in this complex was $800 per square meter. The highest price we saw was $1,450 per square meter. The price of an apartment like this is around $100,000 to $150,000. Here lives Dina Pimahova, and its owner is her mother, Svetlana Lutsenko. It's my mother's flat. It was bought in 2012. I mean, it's in my mother's ownership since 2012. That's it. Did your mother buy it with her own money or what? Where does she work? Nadia, I won't talk to you anymore because... Is the apartment also a secret of the investigation? Maybe the mother will tell more. Svetlana Lutsenko is a principal in a kindergarten. The owner of the luxury apartment, Dina Pimahova's mother, lives in a small village, Grigorivka, Zaporizhia region, and works in a local kindergarten. And her father is... I don't know, he keeps bees. How many? Maybe 15 to 20 hives. I don't know. The official's father is a beekeeper. Neither him nor his wife could afford such an expensive flat. I can't understand. How did you buy it? You're the one who bought it in 2012, not your mother. Nadia, not in 2016, in 2012. It has belonged to my mother since 2012. At the same time, in 2012, Pimahova simultaneously delayed payments for her one-room apartment and found a few $100,000 to buy another one. And to avoid awkward questions, she immediately registered it to her mother. You were a migration service official and you're the one who bought this apartment. Nadia, let's not... Oh, it seems like we can't talk anymore because the very honest migration service official hung up on me. But the principal of Grigorivka kindergarten doesn't just own some apartment, she also has a Porsche Cayenne. Even though the woman lives in the Zaporizhia region, her Porsche is regularly seen in Kyiv. The public servant refused to talk to us about her apartments. We didn't even manage to ask her about her cars. And there are a lot of questions. This car, for example. The official had a road accident in it in 2015. But this car isn't in the declaration. But today, the Porsche stands idle. The official is being picked up by an expensive Toyota, registered to her 72-year-old grandmother. Open, please. We have 2 questions. As Pimahova saw the camera and the journalist, she hid behind the seat. A Porsche and a flat, registered to an official's mother, is a common scheme. A less-known scheme is an illegal Ukrainian passport for $30,000. The deputy head of Migration Service herself talked about that scheme, but the prosecutor general doesn't want to listen. It's a pure provocation. Alexei Krivopishin, the ex-head of Southwestern Railways, the subject of several of our investigations, after which he got the X to his head. Suddenly, he reappeared as an advisor to Kyiv City Mayor Klitschko and started to get royalties from the city of Kyiv in a very unnatural way. The royalty is around $10,000 per year. $10,000 after the millions he got on the railways is nothing to Krivopishin. But the way he did this is too interesting. Next, Marina Antsiforova on how to invent a wheel and to patent it. The Kyiv Urban Rail is one of the city's biggest transport projects. As far back as 2011, this innovation was praised by the then MP Mykola Azarov. It will make it a lot easier for people, especially from distant districts, to get to the city center. A circuit railroad with 15 stops was built through different Kyiv districts, and an ordinary suburban train was put there. The Kyiv state administration spent $5 million to repair and equip the stations. It also spends around $600,000 annually on tracks, railroad infrastructure, and train maintenance. Currently, the train goes only at rush hours, in the morning and in the evening, with $25,000 of losses every month. This expectedly raises questions about its feasibility, but among the expenditures of the urban rail, there's one that doesn't raise any questions. It's just absurd. It's patent royalties. In 2012, right after the urban rail's opening, the then head of Southwestern Railways, Alexei Kryvopyshin, registers a patent on the circuit railroad intra-urban transportation method. The patent says that Kryvopyshin's method differs from others because trains move consequentially at least through one magistral crossroad within the city. To hell with that. To cut it short, the patent's bottom line is very simple: a circle. The head of the Southwestern Railways patented moving in a circle. Well, okay, trains moving in a circle. But if we are to generalize a little, he could get royalties from stadium runners. Alexei Kryvopyshin has been the head of Southwestern Railways since 2002. He was a subject of several of our investigations. Companies linked to Kryvopyshin have won tenderings for servicing the railway for more than $28 million. Ukrainian Railways has these kind of trains. They're also cleaned by Kryvopyshin's firms. But it's doubtful that the head himself takes these trains. And the villa of Kryvopyshin's daughter was built on land which was meant for railway workers. We were told to prepare emergency service teams. It was August. They were sent to, and we later discovered, the Olympic Village. After a series of corruption scandals, he lost his position. Kryvopyshin patented the idea of going from one station to another in 2012. But despite the patent, the urban rail didn't pay royalties, both when he was the railway's head and when he was temporarily unemployed. And then something changed. It's true that the urban rail fell into neglect. We reanimated not for the first time, but thanks to the mayor's initiative, we have received funds on a very short notice and repaired 12 trains within 3 weeks.
короткие сроки мы получили финансирование, и 12 электропоездов были отремонтированы за 3 недели.
In 2012, despite his turbulent biography, Kryvopyshin became an advisor to the Kyiv mayor Vitaly Klitschko. A year later, Kyivpastrans, which administrates the urban rail, remembers the patent's owner. In October 2017, Kyivpastrans and Kryvopyshin signed a contract. It said that Kryvopyshin receives $10,000 of patent royalties annually. Kryvopyshin's circle patent is enforced for the next 5 years, but even within this short term, the city will pay this incredible genius more than $38,000. Okay, a patent on moving in a circle is savage, but maybe Kyivpastrans was absolutely helpless against such savagery? Nope, it had plenty of ways to protest, but just didn't want to. Viktor Petruk, the head technician of the transport department of Kyiv administration. In the past, he had worked on an alternative project of the urban rail, but he didn't intend to patent it. Petruk says that Kyivpastrans didn't have to pay for the unusual patent. Kyivpastrans should have refused being a subsidized company which receives funds from the city budget, from taxes, and as a planned unprofitable company. But they didn't resist and just signed the contract. Ukraine has two types of patents. The first one is the invention patent. In this case, an inventor has to prove that he invented something new. And the useful model patent. Kyivpastrans has the latter. It doesn't have to be proved. One can patent moving in circles or doing jumping jacks. The applications are the responsibility of the inventor. We take his word for it. So firstly, you receive the patent, and then anyone can appeal against it. Kyivpastrans could, but didn't want to. Anyone can demand an additional inspection. To be patented, a useful model must have two features: originality and professional competency. In terms of the patent, in Kyivpastrans' opinion, he's the first to invent it. In fact, there are a lot of similar systems in the world, which makes sense. Going in a circle is not really groundbreaking. While everything's clear with originality, or more like its absence, the efficiency of the Kyiv urban rail is a rather controversial issue. If just after its launch it ran every 15 minutes, now, due to low demand, it works only at rush hours. But it works all in all. A lot less people, and it's less convenient, if it wasn't late all the time. I walk for half an hour through the woods. It's like morning exercise. Then I go to Dinas station, if the train arrives on time. The urban rail was meant to lessen the load on the metro and trams during rush hours, but it didn't manage to, as the experts say. Today, it transports less than 20,000 people a day, when the metro has more than 1 million passengers. In fact, this system carries just a little bit more than 1% of the metro passenger traffic. The passengers are reluctant to use it not only because it's late all the time. There's more to that. Often, people have to transfer from the rail to the metro or a bus to get to work, and to pay the fare again. Stations should be built within the administrative business center. Protasov Yar should be connected, and a transfer pass to the Lubitska metro station should be built. To save the project, the officials want to connect the urban rail to tram tracks so that the train could go into the city. This system is called tram train. Currently, the project is in development. Why do the Cayenne residents have to take a tram to the rail? Maybe the rail would better come to the residents. A universal transport, which would travel both on the tram tracks and the urban rail, has been discussed for a while, since 2010, when Kyivpastrans was the head of Southwestern Railways. Then this idea was being unofficially developed on the order of the Kyiv head architect, Serhiy Bronovitsky, by the engineer Viktor Petruk and an architect, Ivan Ponomarenko. It was really self-explanatory, and we didn't even think to patent it, or something like that, because it's so obvious you can't patent this. It's like to patent people having heads, legs, or arms. But the project of a universal double-duty tram train remained just a project. After a few months of planning, the developers understood that nobody is going to make it happen. Being joyfully greeted by the head architect of Kyiv turned into sitting by his door. He's not here, he's a bit busy now. However, in 7 years, the idea was reanimated. This year, Kyivpastrans announced a tendering for the development of tram train documentation for $670,000. It was won in October by Sofia, an architecture and construction enterprise. This story could have had a happy ending. The loss-making urban rail could be reanimated, connected to the tram, and it could go to the administrative and business center, taking more passengers. But where new opportunities arise, there are people who want to make money on them. Yes, again, Kyivpastrans and his patent, a new one. This June, he has received a patent on the tram train connection method, and this means that he is following the Kyiv administration's plans very closely. It's not surprising because since 2016, he's been an advisor to the Kyiv mayor, who didn't know anything about his helper's shady deals, of course. Why are you letting Kyivpastrans make money on the urban rail? More details, please. He patented the circle rail and gets $10,000 from Kyivpastrans every year. As you may know, neither the Kyiv City Council nor the city administration issue patents. I heard about this situation, and I've ordered people to look into this. If there's a violation, we will appeal to Kyiv Patent against the signing of that contract. So the mayor isn't even sure if the patent on circle movement is illegal, and simply dumps the responsibility on the Kyiv, actually it's the Ukr patent, which just registers the patents on useful models. It does not verify them. I checked everything, its condition, and I can see that we'll complete it before the 10th, just as we promised the mayor, so that the project of the ground metro will have a fresh start. In 2014, Alexei Kyivpastrans said in an interview that he would do everything to revive the urban rail, because the mayor personally asked him to. In fact, the already ex-head of the railways has already patented and planned to make money. We can only guess why the mayor didn't do anything about it. Maybe because of friendship. Maybe because Kyivpastrans kind of kept his word. That's all for today. Write us on social media, watch us on YouTube. If you have an interesting topic, feel free to email us. See you on air in a week. Goodbye.